So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a glorious Wednesday today. This is our modern investing show. My name is Sasha Starr, and our guests today are Dr. Milan Sonberg. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me. Delighted to be here.
Great to have you as always. And Jim Eid from Infant Foundation. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you for having me, Sasha.
Great to have you as always. So I'm speechless about last couple of weeks or so.
Yeah.
I'm speechless. My account grew 15.5% during that time. I'm fully invested. Uh, so 15.5% is not such a great deal, but when you're talking about only in 2 weeks, and if every 2 weeks I could generate 15.5%,
Starts adding up to real money.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. I did some adjustments actually today. What I did though, I cashed out on this cash guaranteed puts on Nvidia. I cashed it out, made pretty good money there. But I couldn't leave Nvidia at all. I still had to have some position. So what I did instead, Nvidia went down a little bit in the last hour or so. Now it's recovering. But when it happened, I bought a few hundred shares of Nvidia and sold covered calls, but very deep into the money. Again, sometimes you see the greediness is a lot of people are fighting it. It rather helps me because of the greediness. I'm selling deep into the money, 460 December 29 calls, generating $50+ which means more than $5,000 for each call. And I'm just always trying to picture the guy who bought these calls. I'm always trying to picture how he looks, what is he like, because he goes to university or maybe he's working somewhere in McDonald's.
It might have been a program that bought him.
Could be a problem. It could be a market trader too, but
Yeah.
I don't think so because Nvidia was quite volatile today.
True.
So I think that. But you know what? Even if it's a program trading, it seems to me it's very easy to predict what the program trading will do because it's following the pattern of trading of Nvidia stock. So if Nvidia stock is in retrenchment, it was in intraday 500 today. So it started to go down, reach 487 or something. That's a big retracement intraday, right?
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
okay. Anyway, I also cashed out of Boeing calls. Sorry, puts that I sold previously. I sold on Monday when Boeing announced their new orders that are coming. They will be busy for next 25 years. So I decided that that it would be nice to be in Boeing story one way or another. So maybe there will be some retracement, and I will renew my position on Boeing. Milan, how you are doing these days in the market?
Well, you are a market wizard, which I'm not. So my, my objectives are to equal the US market. And so for the last little while, the put call ratio on SPY, which represents the S&P 500 accurately, which represents the American economy as a whole, has been positive. So using the advice that we should put all our eggs into one basket, but then watch that basket, we, using a 50-50 asset allocation, put all our eggs into SPY yesterday. And it's done well, But when I take a look at the upcoming schedule, it's going to be negative for the next month, but positive a year from now. So, the put call ratio is something that we need to monitor a great deal. And I'm paying attention to that. I'm not sure how good it is as a predictor of where the market is going to go. But we have another issue here that we haven't discussed adequately on this program. And it has to do with the yield curve on bonds. A yield curve is a line chart that plots interest rates for bonds. And typically, the further out we go, the greater the yield. And so, in the last 60 years, we've had a recession every 6 or 7 years. And almost every one of those recessions was predicted by a negative yield curve. A negative inverse yield curve is one where a nearby bond pays a greater rate of return than the farther out bond. So now that's where we are now. The nearby bond rates are greater than far out bond rates, which means that we are in a negative yield curve. And so over the past 60 years, almost every recession has been predicted by a negative yield curve, which precedes that recession by about a year or so. And that's where we are now. So based on the existing negative yield curve, we are looking at a recession, a likely recession about a year from now. And so we have to be ready for that. Each of us will, depending on the stage of life we're at, prepare for that in some way or another. But we have to be aware that there's a very high likelihood that we will face a recession about a year from now based on the yield curve which we have available, which is present today.
Jim, what's your opinion on this macroeconomic issues?
Yeah, I first off, I wanted to say that you and I were tracking NVIDIA and we were investing in it. I invested it when it was under $300 and I sold when it was in the mid 400s. And you were telling me it was going to go to 500. And I just want to give you a little props. It broke 500, went to 504. It's down today, but I got out and I was happy to sell when I sold because I made money. But you were right about that stock, and I wanted to just give you props for that. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, and I'll get back to the question you asked, is that my nature is contrarian, and I remember PG&E was 2 years ago. There were forest fires, and it got lawsuits, and everybody was beating the stock up and down, and it got down to around 10, which is where I bought it. And I'm just checking now; it's at 17.52 today. So this has been my policy: is to look at a company that's not going to go out of business, and has been battered, I think sometimes unfairly in the market, and buy when it's low.
Good question for you, Jim. Question for you, Jim. How do you know that the company is not going out of business? How do you know that it's not a Nortel or an Enron?
Right.
How do you know that?
The two primary examples that I will give you is PG&E is a utility that wasn't, can't afford, the state of California can't afford it to go out of business. And the other one was that I did this with was IBM, and IBM is just a solid company. It was getting bad publicity. So I don't do this often. I do this only when I'm confident that the company is a good company. And that's a question of experience and discipline. But you're absolutely right that just because the stock is going down, there's no reason to buy it. It has to be a solid company that is getting bad press.
If you're looking at the American economy as a whole, as exemplified by an exchange-traded fund that tracks the S&P 500, and SPY is the best of all of them because it has the narrowest bid-ask range. Many investors don't know what a bid-ask range is. It's a cost to investors.
Right.
So SPY is the narrowest bid-ask range. It's the oldest. It's the largest. That's the most heavily traded.
Right.
And so if that drops, buying more makes sense.
You get you. And to get into the recessions, I like to talk about how after the COVID pandemic hit, we were told by everyone that a recession was around the corner. And that was in 2020, 2021, 2022. We're in 2023 now. There's still been no recession. As a matter of fact, the American economy is doing astoundingly well. Unemployment is at historic lows. Wages are going up. Corporate earnings are going up. The American economy is doing well. People are still thinking that the economy is doing poorly, this is a disconnect that I keep talking about, is because, because of the COVID pandemic, our global distribution system broke down. And so products could not be delivered to where they were wanted, and prices went up. And prices are going to stay up. And that's what people notice, is that, prices are still high. And so they think the economy is bad. But when you dial down to it, they have jobs, the jobs are better paying, everybody's doing better. But their personal reporting is still that the economy is doing poorly overall. So I just want to keep harping on that subject. Is the economy recession proof? No. And is that a good indicator? If history is your judge, yes, it's been a good indicator. But I don't see how the wheels are coming off in this economy right now. I just see pessimism where I'm optimistic. And until my personal view changes, I'm not betting on a recession. And my personal view, is going to change. It always does over time. So, check in next year, and I might be saying, yeah, recession is coming around the corner, but I don't really follow the consensus of the economic gurus out there. I don't really follow any particular market indicator. I look at what the economy is doing, what corporate earnings are reporting, and I try to base my decisions on facts rather than opinions.
I don't know what percentage of your viewers, Sasha, are Canadians, but yes, the American economy is doing very well. The Canadian economy is the worst that it's been in a very long time, and it's somewhere near the very bottom of the developed nations today. So
Wow.
we've been telling our members, since we launched our Monday morning program about 4 or 5 years ago, we've been telling them, buy the American economy as a whole, buy SPY, and keep all your cash in American money. And that has served our members very well. And it's so simple to do. Just buy SPY and maintain a 50-50 asset allocation, roughly speaking. It can be 45-55, depending on your risk tolerance and depending on your stage of life. But the Canadian economy is done very badly. The Sun is a publication coming out of Toronto, and yesterday or 2 days ago, it showed that Canada is doing abysmally. And being in the American market sure makes a lot of sense, as it has for the last 5 years since we launched our program. And Confucius said, study the past if you would define the future. Yeah, the American market tomorrow will be better than the Albanian market.
Well, I'm sorry that I love Canada, but I haven't followed the economy the way I follow the U.S. economy. Do you have any explanation for why it's doing poorly?
Well, generally speaking, somebody would say mismanagement, and that's a very broad
Sure.
area. So I really can't give you the specific details because I haven't had a chance to study them, but I will, because it does affect us. Although, being in the American market and the American dollar is so simple.
Yeah.
Canadians, for everybody in the world, actually everybody in the world wants to be in the American dollar. You see where the American dollar is, its strength today relative to a couple of weeks ago. It's just up constantly on the rise because it's a reserve currency nationwide, and it's a part of the strongest economy in the history of the world. So how can you go wrong with that? But why Canadian markets are doing so well is some aspect of management. Maybe I can, if it's sufficiently important, describe that next week's meeting.
Well, until fairly recently, Canadian economy was basically the resource-based economy.
Yeah, that's right. Banking and resources, that's it.
Yeah. And banking. So they were in oil and gas,
Right, yeah.
gold, silver,
Wow.
banks. That's about it. Now they have some high-tech companies and so on. But this is
That
far
would
cry.
explain a lot of it, Sasha. That would explain a lot of it. Yeah, yeah.
So that's why, I mean, in banks, you cannot have stellar economy because your banks are strong. It's very good that your banks are strong, but what can you get out of the banks? Okay, I have one bank, CIBC. Okay, they pay 7.5% dividend. Okay, if according to what I think will happen to the market, the Fed sometimes will start lower interest rates, and their yield of 7.5% will become something to speak about. And so I expect that their prices will definitely go higher. It's trading under $40 with the yield 7.5. I think they will go to 45, maybe even $50 a share. Okay, so that's fine. And another Canadian company that I have is Enbridge. Enbridge is very solid oil and gas company. They have supplying gas, probably they have monopoly on supplying gas in Canada.
Hmm.
They're paying very solid dividend. Now, speaking about covered calls, what I've discovered actually is that this provides you with excellent day trading opportunity. I'll tell you how. Let's see on Enbridge. I sold yesterday some covered calls. Okay, I sold I think 10 calls, and today they went down because the Enbridge stock went down. So I was able to buy them back at much lower price in just one day. I closed the position, so and you know what? When I opened the position, what I did, I sold December 24 calls. So it's far out of money. Again, it's because of my greediness, because I wanted to get as much premium as possible. So I sold it, but as soon as I did it, I regretted it because it's paying not such a nice dividends. And why did okay, but why am I so greedy? Okay, I decided, fine, we'll see what's happening. And indeed, as soon as it went down, I bought it back at the profit. And well, if they will run farther, I will do it probably again. The same thing happening with, by the way, NVIDIA um, cashed covered puts. Again, the same thing. Let's say NVIDIA continue to go higher. So these puts are going lower in price, so you can buy them back. You don't have to stay until the December and take all of it. Although that's not such a bad strategy. But you see, now when NVIDIA went down today, now I think the wisdom of that, I sold them, then I liquidated the positions and I went long on NVIDIA with covered calls. Again, bought them back. I made well over $1,000 on that. And then I decided, okay, now I have NVIDIA. I still have to do something because I'm not covered with anything. So I decided to sell covered calls again. But this time I decided different. Okay, I make money on pools, I make money on calls. Now I'm going to play super um, conservative strategy. And I sold December, I think 29, 460 calls, and stock is trading 493 or something.
Yeah.
460 because the stock is going higher. Let's say stock will go most likely to 525 or 530. So of course stock will be taken away from me. But this premium that I just got today, it covers everything. I got 50 some dollars for each call that I sold. So now I don't care anymore because the money is already there.
Uh-huh.
But we'll see.
Our viewers should be aware of the fact that they should never buy puts or calls. Never buy puts or calls except to close out a position the way you're talking about here. If you got a position that you want to close out because you sold them, now you have to buy them back in order to get out of the situation. That's the only time that we should be buying puts or calls. But the price has to be right. And it isn't always right, is it?
No.
Hey, Milan and Sasha, just really quickly, I had a quick question for y'all that I was curious about. Because I know here in the United States, at least those of us that study a little bit finances, maybe not so much investment the way that you three experts do, are hearing about multinational corporations and the fact that a lot of the companies, including those that you invest in, Milan, are not necessarily from the United States, even though they're in the U.S. stock market. I'm thinking about things like Glaxo, Rowan Palmer, and all
Sure,
of
yeah,
those.
yeah.
I'm wondering how much of that is the factor in Canada, because a lot of the companies that are U.S. based companies aren't really U.S. based. They're actually based in other countries and everything like that. So how much of that is
Well,
playing in?
if you take a look at the S&P 500 companies, the largest 500 companies in the United States almost all of them have a presence in almost every country in the world. Yeah. And so many of them, quite a few of them, are much larger than the gross national product of most countries.
Right.
So the role that they play in the geopolitical issues of the globe today is enormous. They can influence, these large companies support both parties in the United States. Doesn't matter who gets elected, the elected party is in their debt. And so they play an enormously large role, and they're huge, and they're more important than the economies of most countries. Yeah, so it doesn't matter where their headquarters are. They have a presence everywhere. Yeah.
But my question about the Canadian economy, if it's resource based, wouldn't that imply that it's pretty volatile? It goes up and down based on oil and energy, kind of, because
Well,
oil and energy itself is pretty up and down.
Yeah, it's quite volatile because it still plays a large role. Oil and gas and gold, silver still plays a large role, but it's been reduced in the last 10, 20 years or so because the banks, high-tech companies that are in Canada, like, for example, what's just forgot the name.
That's okay. Yeah.
B Blackbridge or BlackBerry.
BlackBerry, yeah.
BlackBerry, they still couldn't find a way what to do with it. But it's trading sometimes with positive reports, but I think it's trading with $3-4 a share.
BlackBerry used to control nearly 50% of the cell phone market.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now they control 0% of that market, but they're in other areas. And
It used to be synonymous with cell phone.
yeah,
If you
that's
have-
right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what
they
folks used
were
to say.
all
Yeah,
excellent.
was a BlackBerry.
Obama had one because of the
Yeah.
privacy that it afforded.
Yes.
And that's great advertising for the company that the president of the United States has this telephone because it gives him the privacy that he needs. But yeah, they now account for 0% of the
But
world's.
maybe it's coincidence, but after Obama started using BlackBerry, their stock started to
That might be a coincidence. But Sasha, tell me about because I know that a lot of movie industry moved up to Vancouver and to Canada.
Vancouver,
Is that still
Toronto, yes.
happening? Yeah.
It's still happening, yeah, but probably not during the winter time, but during the summer, summer, early spring, early summer and autumn. Yeah, and there are movie productions. But again, it's just
My daughter and son-in-law are both in the movie business, and so the place where movies are made today are in Hollywood, in Vancouver, and in Toronto, because they have a trained workforce ready to do the job because they know how to do it, and the dollar is so much weaker than the U.S. dollar. So the American companies, anybody making movies, paying Canadian dollars is way ahead of paying for those movies in American dollars. So yeah, Toronto is you can drive up and down the streets of Toronto. You will very often find camera crews that set up someplace and they don't stay there for an hour or three. They stay there for 2-3 weeks.
Milan, but this is all technical aspects of. There is no creative anything that Canada contributes to movies, and so they're basically doing all these little cheap jobs here and there. Okay, set up the camera, you go there, you go buy sandwiches and so on. This is nothing to do with creativity. It's nothing to do with script writing or so on. So Canada is basically it's like a third world country which is flying.
In that respect, yeah. I still love living in Canada, nevertheless.
Yeah, no, it's a good country, Canada. Yeah. Bring more Palestinians here.
When you look at the Human Development Index, the Human Development Index was developed by an East Indian economist, Nobel Prize winner, and it counts measurable things such as, let's say, life expectancy, and the number of physicians per 100,000 people, and the number of telephones, and the crime rates, and so on. And Canada has been in the top 10 forever. Yeah. Where can you go? Under the Harper regime, Canada was number 1 5 years in a row. Where can you go from number 1 except down from there? But
With the Prime Minister Trudeau, you can go still.
even more.
Yeah, there's still more.
But what happens is the top 10 or 15 countries, there isn't much difference among. All of us would be glad to live in any of those countries. So Canada has been there forever.
Mil, very interesting
By
thing.
the way, has not. The United States has not. Yeah. So sorry.
I wanted to ask you, Milan, one thing. A couple of weeks ago on this program, you told us about some great, was it symposium of great economic minds
Oh
somewhere
yeah, that was in the desert.
Yes.
in the desert somewhere else, and they were saying that one says that recession will be it's imminent, another one says that it will be yes indeed in 6 months, the third one no it's going to be in 3 months. So it's doom and gloom right before decisive move. So by their stupid talking, they talked so many people out of the market. Even you said yesterday, no, last program, you said that you are absolutely in cash. You have absolutely no zero investments. Do you see what these idiots, what they're doing with normal people? And people are
Well, Sasha,
no.
you're calling them idiots, but in the world of finance, every one of those people is a major somebody.
Yeah.
We're talking about the
Absolutely
president of Goldman Sachs.
Absolutely not. Because of their positions, they are entitled to huge bonuses for doing nothing. They are doing merger and acquisitions that when you're complaining that as a doctor, you're making a tiny portion of all these people in the banking industry doing, and they're doing the merger and acquisitions. I must admit, though, they're working very hard. I have our friend's son is working in merger and acquisitions. They're like shysters. They're running around and trying to listen to, oh, this guy wants to sell. Oh, that guy maybe wants to buy. So I'm going to talk to this guy, that guy.
You're saying they're working very hard? You're saying they're working very hard? You know, a couple of years ago, I think it was Goldman Sachs who stated that none of their people can work past midnight, and they're not allowed to work more than 17 hours a day. Not allowed to work more than 17 hours a day. No working past midnight. That's a new regulation.
Elon, but the most fees are not going to these people who are working 17 hours.
No, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
They are bringing the deal. Then thank you. Look for next deal. Then most likely he will be fired because they want to avoid paying him some bonuses.
Well, how can we
so they will fire him.
And
in the meantime, they will grab all the bonuses, all the upkeep, everything they will grab to themselves.
So what do we have to do to get there? What do we have to do to be one of those people who are getting the bonuses?
Well, you have to be in that industry. You have to be, as a young man, work 17 hours. And
there's another way, Sasha. You can be a part of Skull and Bones and go to Yale and join a society. And then you get friends that are CEOs and important people, and then they hire you.
Jim, it's necessary. You're 17 hours a day, nobody needs. But to get there, you need Yale and you need Harvard or something else. So then you are allowed to work 17 hours a day and work and run until.
And nobody tells you how many hours to work then.
Doesn't matter.
Hey, Jim, do you get a BlackBerry phone when you do that as well? Because I understand they were giving giveaways left and right. So maybe you, as part of Skull and Bones, you get your own BlackBerry?
Oh, I think at one time you did.
Yeah,
but as soon as Obama got one, then they stopped giving them away.
Well, Apple, I think Apple 4 actually killed the.
Yes, and Apple was a killer device, and
first Apple, first 3 models, they were like compatible sort of. Then Apple, it was still more elegant and easy to use, but
easy to use.
Yeah, but iPhone 4, actually, that was the end. The BlackBerry was gone after. I remember that time, and actually, I never had BlackBerry because I didn't type that much, so BlackBerry. And then when
I had a pager. I don't know if anyone has a pager anymore.
I can go even further than that. Jim and Sasha, do you remember something called a Palm Pilot?
No.
Phone power.
That was a thing that was out there that was very popular as well. It was similar. It was right after the pager, but yeah, a lot of people were running out and getting Palm Pilots. But yeah, it was a early version of
I do
technology
remember.
and everything.
You know, Gordon Moore predicted, he was one of the founders of Intel Corporation, and he predicted that, more than 30, 40 years ago, that the cost of software is going to be cut in half every 18 months, and its effectiveness will be doubled every 18 months. Now,
Moore's law.
Moore's Law, yeah, Gordon Moore, yeah, Moore's Law. What I'd like to know is, he was an engineer working for Intel Corporation. What did he know then to make that announcement possible about this phone, which has got more power in it than the computer did that took man to the moon?
It's so true. I used to work in the mainframes, and my phone now has more memory, more storage capacity than the mainframes did when I was working on it.
Yeah, right.
But the thing that I think he saw was that because we can do this, Sasha will know this, in the world of chess. So we were trying to create chess programs, chess engines, and we were using heuristics to do that. So trying to teach a computer to think like a human would think, and that never went anywhere. What happened was the speed of the processing got so fast that it just the computers are now dominant in terms of calculations, and it's the speed of the calculations. And I think what Moore was seeing was that the chips the production of the chips were improving so rapidly that the speed was going to increase more and more and more. And you just were able to do things so much faster and run them on smaller and smaller devices. And this was something that it wasn't just in the chess world, but it was in all sorts of applications where the problems that we couldn't solve before became solvable just because of the number crunching ability of the computers.
Yeah, because they take a look at everything and ignore those elements that, as a chess player, you would never even consider. And they give it a rating and decide what the next best move is. But they take a look at everything because they have the power to do that. So,
right.
When Deep Blue beat the world chess champion, was that about 40 years ago or so?
95?
97.
97? Okay.
Yeah. The computer cost $1 million, more than $1 million. Now, this thing can do that.
I can't beat my phone.
I got it at no charge.
Yeah. So,
I don't want to play against computers, and I don't want to play against kids. I only want to play against people my age.
unfortunately, that open all this cheating in chess, and
That's so true too.
far there is no solution to that, because somebody who wants to cheat, he will cheat, and there is nothing to do about it. Unfortunately, that's the reality of that stuff. Now there is a stock market. There is no cheating on the stock market because it's so transparent. You just go on your account, you see all the stocks trading, it's up, down, stays same. You see the volume, you see whether it's red or green. So
Wait a second. There's still a lot of insider trading.
Yeah.
But Jim, I know there is insider trading that you will never eliminate that.
Right.
But you know what? Largely it's concentrating in a few stocks, and it's happening occasionally, like before earnings, maybe, or before one company will buy another one. Okay. For example, what I'm trading, like large caps like Nvidia, for example, or Boeing, and others, or even Enbridge or Canadian CIBC, Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, I can't really figure out how the insider trading can affect me one way or another.
No, your point is well taken, Sasha, but the insider trading is still real.
Yeah,
we don't have to look at the Congress and our politicians to know that it happens. And the only people that seem to get punished are people like Martha Stewart.
Yes.
I mean, come on. She was not a power player, but she was in the popular eye. And
also made a couple of $100,000.
It was so trivial, and to pick on someone like that instead of the people that are, getting massive profits from this, and also passing policies that would benefit certain countries or companies rather. This is the kind of thing that we have to stop. The as you know, the dark money influencing the politicians, passing policies that benefit those that pay the politicians, that get the politicians elected. This is the real nuts and bolts of what's going on, but it doesn't affect someone like you. I absolutely agree.
But
The information is out there for you.
Jim, very interesting way how the, for example, foreign powers or some dirty money or black money or whatever, how they actually bribe politicians with. So, what do you think? It's a bag with cash, maybe, or something?
Not anymore.
No.
No.
Actually, they perfected this strategy many, many years ago. What they're doing is they are opening a trading account, preferably with a futures trading on S&P, on gold, or doesn't matter what. So they're saying that we are opening account for you, a small amount, but if we are successful, it will grow, so you will benefit from it. So now they're doing trades. For example, if they're long on gold, on second account, they're going short on gold. One of the two transactions will be right, another one wrong, but another one is right. So when you do 2-3 transactions and you put right side of the transaction to one account and the wrong side to another account, then you say to whatever politician or whoever you're working and trying to entice with. So you're saying, look, we open a small account for you and we did few transactions. And guess what? We were lucky. And we would like you to present with this account. So yours, don't worry, there is almost no money involved. We just fund this account so there would be something to trade with. But we were very successful at that, and that's yours. So it doesn't even look like a bribe, because essentially, if you forget about the second side of the account and only concentrating on the first one, so you see, okay, they put little money, they were successful in a few trades, they built it up to a certain amount, and then they did. So they didn't really have that much money, so to call it a bribe, because there was not money really, it was just a trading.
And you didn't have to report it.
And they don't report. Well, they did report for their account, but they will say, okay, this is account won $2 million, and this account lost $2 million. So we are even. We don't have to pay any taxes, right?
Right.
So this is how it works most of the times. It's very successful. But again, it doesn't affect us. Whatever we are trading, we are doing okay. So listen, I feel that we are on the right track. I think that the market will go higher. The interest rates will go
lower.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And therefore, again, it's scary now after this run up in 15 days. It's very scary to go long on stocks because there is such a great move. And that explains what I did with NVIDIA when I finally, after a few trades, so I was already sitting on a house money quite a bit. And still I sold 460 calls with the stock trading 490 or something.
Yeah.
So you still have to be fearful, but look, if you're not in the market, you will not make money.
We had the Prime Minister, Brian Mulroney, who at one time was caught with $300,000 in cash that he was carrying in a pouch, which I guess was legal in those days. There was this
old school
French company, airplane manufacturer, French company.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so Air Canada was buying those aircraft.
Airbus.
Yeah. And so there he was with $300,000 in cash. And so I guess it was legal in those days, but he is not very well respected. And you don't need to be respected to make money.
Well, and the other thing I would say about your approach, Sasha, is that although you do take risks and you can't be too risk averse if you're going to get in the market, you also hedge your bets very well.
Yes, I do, Jim. Especially, and interestingly enough, I hedge my bets the more I'm winning, and I build up my account. Okay, I'll tell you, since the mid of October last year until today, my net profit with all the fees and commissions, with everything else, it's still 235%. This is why, Milan, I told you that I'm challenging all these gurus and all these men who know so much about recessions and know about a little bit of this and that. Bring them in, put money on the table, and let's see what you can do and how good you are.
Sasha, I asked you this question once, and
Yeah.
I forgot the answer. I don't know whether you gave me a solid answer, but it has to do with being deep in the money. The deeper into the money you are, the fewer participants there are. Why is that? Why are people not getting deep into the money when it can be so profitable?
Milan, I think you have to repeat your question, please.
When you're deep into the money, the further you go into the money, the deeper you're into the money, there are fewer and fewer participants involved in that transaction.
Well, I don't think it's true with stocks like Nvidia or even S&P 500, which you love. It's very, very deep market. There are a lot of market participants. There are a lot of market makers who have to provide market. So I really don't see that. I mean, I was filled in a matter of seconds, and I didn't even put a market order. I never put market order on options. So I did put a specified price, and even with that, I was filled almost instantly. So there is a great depth of these markets on stocks like Nvidia for sure. Now, if you will take, for example, even on Enbridge, that's not easy trade because there are much larger gap between bid and ask. There is not much liquidity. You have to, if you put a market order, you will be filled, but you will lose on transaction quite a bit. And if you put a fixed price order, you may be sitting for 15, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour before you will be filled. So this is why trading in stocks like large caps, Nvidia, and well, this is all the seven horses that are bringing all your what you love 500 S&P 500. There are only 7 stocks that are actually making money. 493 they don't.
Sasha and Milan, I have to say goodbye. The doorbell just rang, and
Okay. We
Thank
have
you.
to finish. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next week, same time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.